Okay, so with the base, I really want to make something quite Batman animated series inspired. So now that we know what shape our light's gonna be, I'm gonna try and do a sort of rounded, stepped 1930s Gothic ray gun type art style to those sides. The base below, I want this all to look like it is made of metal. This space in the middle underneath, I'm gonna put in a sort of semi-technical looking block just to make it a bit more visually interesting, and then I'm going to put all of that onto another bit of base which I can make look a little bit more like an asphalt roof. So actually it's now working out what part is printed how. See, this metal piece I want to print upside down so that it takes advantage of printing nice and flat and smooth on the printer bed. But then I put all these additional detail pieces. Now if I print the asphalt roof, some registration posts, and the detail all as one piece, the posts as a separate piece, then I can print the actual metal base upside down with holes for all of these pieces in, and that should just slot all together. Let's start modelling this whole thing and then parting it up.
Hang on, these notes aren't complete.
Okay, so to show you how to do the legs, I'm actually going to show you the right way and the wrong way of doing it. So looking at simple shapes, here is a torus, which is basically a donut. So again, we're starting at the 0 point and we're just going to take this out to a radius of 10. And then the second radius, which basically tells you how thick the donut is, we're going to set that to 1. So that gives us a donut. Taking a cylinder and putting it to that first line, that middle of the donut, putting it up 2 and moving it into the middle means that we now have a solid donut. And now if we make another solid and we do a cylinder, and not sure exactly how tall these stands are going to be yet, so let's go all the way down, copy and paste that. We now have something that looks like a footpath sign or something, and another solid. I'll just take it as a box and go from the center down to the bottom and group all this, and here we have a quite nice detailed side panel. That's actually curved on both sides though, and I want it flat on one side, which means put another box underneath it. Get another cylinder, exactly the same width, but we're just going down. So basically we have made that entire shape without the curve on it and just filled that in. Group all that. So that does work, but it's a lot of processing, a lot of shapes, and a lot of time. Now the right way that you are supposed to be doing it, Let's just grab a cylinder next to it. That was 10. We're going to make this diameter 5. Give it the height 2. Just going to move that over. Yeah, okay, so that looks good. Solid box, corner to corner height. And we have, if I move this out the way, pretty much the same thing now, but flat. But what we can now do is go back to select the circle first. Solids, fillet edge, and select that top edge, and that top edge. We had a radius of 2 on the torus, so we go for 1 on the fillet. Don't know why that's gone to 2, we just wanted that at 1. And here we have practically the same thing. And that's starting to give us that nice Gothic ray gun effect. I think I'm going to put one more layer in between those. Then I'll create another box, again use another Boolean control just to trim those down. Let me get that done and I'll show you the finished thing. Okay, so there we have our nice Gothic ray gun curvy bat signal legs. They are absolutely identical left and right, so we only need to make one of them and then we can print out 2. The last thing we need to do though is to put a hole in there for those pegs. So really the best way of doing that is to line that hole up with the middle. Select your leg, go to solid, difference, and then use that. Make sure that we're not going to delete that. There. So now if I move that out the way, you'll see that that's actually carved absolutely perfect size hole for our bat leg. Actually, let me put that back where it was. Duplicate that, move that over 60mm, flip it just by reversing X, and then we have one on each side. So that's the legs done, the body done. Let's get on with the base. Okay, so now we're working on the base. I've already drawn in a couple of just big blocks. These are 10 by 10 by half a centimetre and 11 by 11 by half a centimetre, and they're going to make our display stand. I've also left the rest of the bat signal on here so that we can use it to do our cutouts. Now, because this has started to become a really complicated shape, it's not so good for doing a Boolean deletion. So we are going to just make a cutting tool using solids, basically tracing those shapes, making them a little bit taller. Another box. Okay, so we now have 1, 2, 3 boxes. I'm going to move those up just a little bit and dig those down as far as we want the legs to go. Now we should be able to select the 2 bases that we want to use. And if we pull this away, we have a little cutout through both of those for the legs to fit in. Move it up to the other side, and let's see if we can do that again. Let's drag that out the way. And there we go. 2 perfect little holes that go all the way down into the second layer. So the legs will actually hold everything together. We want to put a few more pieces like that in. For example, I want to put in some big bolts, 3 centimeters in with a diameter of, 3 millimeters in with a diameter of 4. And I want them to stand 0.5 millimeter out. So there it looks like we've got some very tough bolts in there. But remember that I'm printing this section upside down, so those details aren't actually going to be on here. I'm just copying and pasting one of these onto there. Selecting both of those. And then copying and pasting those onto there. Now if you grab our top metal section and delete from it those, making sure to leave them on the workspace, and then grabbing the bottom and doing a union, this now means that this base section will print with those rivets in there. So that's already looking very cool, but we can do a little bit more to add some detail. For example, I wanted to put some sort of heatsink decoration underneath here, and again I'm just going to do that with a few rectangles. So by selecting all these shapes and then using this block at the bottom as a cutting surface, we end up with this nice, interesting block shape. And I'm just going to move that semicircle and that base half a space over, and I'm going to use another boolean just to get rid of that corner there. So that should give us a really nice, interesting shape to drop in to the base. To just add a little bit more detail. So again, if we select these and subtract them from our top layer of the base, and then select the base layer, that should give us some really nice registration points when it comes to adding all this together. So with the cowling, the legs and both parts of the base done, we can send all of that off to print. Okay, so whilst I showed off Cura in the video I made about printing out Scorponok, this is the software that I use for the XYZ. It's the slicer that was packaged with it. You get very little control over things like temperature because, quite honestly, the XYZ is a DRM heavy machine and they don't really give you a lot of control. I could go in, flash the firmware, start using more modern versions of Cura, but at the moment this pretty much does what I want. I have loaded the plate up, not incredibly heavily packed, it's just got the roof the two sides and I put a little fan thing together just to cover up the ugly end. I'll show you why I didn't think I was going to have to do that when I put this all together. You hit the print button and it will give you the options. You can set the infill, the layer height, which we're going to take down to 0.1, the shell thickness, the speed, and supports. Actually, the way that I've got this designed, it shouldn't need any supports at all, shouldn't need any brim, draft, etc. We hit print. Gives me a warning if I'm running low on filament, which I'm not really, but also the option to buy now. As I said, they're very DRM heavy. Hit print, and it will now transfer it to my machine. And that's all the time we've got today, so come back next time and we'll do the lens, fitting and finishing. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it, and we'll see you then.